So my thought was it took a very long time, years of marriage, for me to understand what the things are that I want out of a marriage and what I was chasing after. And I think specifically as a man, I was willing to kind of disguise or even not admit what those things are that I wanted under the ruse that as long as my wife was happy, that I would be happy. But the underlying truth to that is if I'm not being fulfilled in my marriage, then how could she truly be happy? Because she's probably got similar thoughts.
I didn't know you were going to go there, but that's real. I didn't know that's how it was going to end. I'm actually, yeah, I'm struggling with that myself, right? Like, even knowing what it is that makes me happy, and not in a way that she makes me happy, but like, what
Right.
do I need in this marriage to feel fulfilled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise I could just be not married and by myself. So what besides the family aspect and the legacy aspect, what besides it, like, what is really the reason that I decided to get with this person forever? And
Mm-hmm.
if so, because we've been together 15 years, like, what has changed? Or have I ever even really thought about that?
Yes. In
Which
the
I
harsher
haven't,
way,
I don't think.
I got you. The harsher way to say it out loud, I feel, is what is this marriage doing for me? And what would I like it to do for me? Right. And for me personally, I just about have to think about it that way. Right. Because
Right. That's perfect.
it, it forces you to say the things, right?
And I get it.
Make it
Like, I don't want to say it that way because I'm like, is
right.
that how marriage should be?
Yeah.
Is this transactional thing that, like, I have to get something out of it, and aren't I supposed to be a servant and serve my wife and love my wife because that's what the Bible says and blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, you have to evaluate, and if that's what helps you get the most authentic and real response, then that's how you have to frame it. And
Right.
so, say that again.
So the harsh way to say it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay. So it is, what am I getting out of this marriage? Another way to put it is, what is this marriage producing? And what would I like to get out of the marriage, or what would I like the marriage to produce? Because it's not all selfish, right? It's not all what
Hmm.
I want, but it is, like what I read to you. How are we presenting and giving and teaching? And, what do those products look like as a result of our marriage?
That is so good because that is, if you're, excuse me, if you're not, for me, I'll say, if I feel like I'm not producing something that is profitable for either one of us, our family, or our community, then it's like, what are we doing? Right. And so even when we are doing certain things, like, so maybe like we're really serving our community, but we're not as intentional with our family, I still don't feel fulfilled, right? Or if we're
Right.
doing for our family and the community, but we're not serving ourselves well, it still
Mm-hmm.
feels like there's a gap or a misplacement, right? So I think a lot of times, I'll say for me, is we will serve outside of ourselves before we'll serve our unit, just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm talking through this, there does feel like a separation. Like, it's not as intimate when we're not serving ourselves. But you
Yes.
have to sit back, like, how is this marriage serving us? And how is it? And you kind of can start with how's it serving me, and how would I feel fulfilled? Because when I'm fulfilled, I'm right? I'm filled and overflowing into the rest of my
Mhm.
life. So I will
Yep.
overflow into what my wife wants and needs because I'm not feeling lacked, right? Because human nature is like if I'm lacking something, I'm grasping for things to fill it.
Hmm.
Even if you're actively not thinking about it, that's what your actions are doing.
Yes.
So, but if you're filled, then you don't have to operate from that place of lacking, and you can just be from a place of thriving.
Man, this is a real conversation. Okay. So let's talk about what it looks like to be grasping. And I think this day and age, for a lot of adults, that grasping looks like phone use, working outside of the home, for some, pornography, drinking,
Shopping,
drugs, shopping, prioritizing friends and activities over your marriage.
athletic activities, working out a bunch,
Yeah.
running a bunch, being in all the
Right.
sports.
Right. And convincing yourself that all that working out is serving the
Yeah,
marriage.
yeah.
So there's this, ouch. There's this thought I'm having about how we disguise or convince ourselves that things on that are on the surface looking healthy, we use to get away as escapism. I mean, that's basically what you
Wow,
just said.
wow. Yeah, I like that you're coming with the realist way to say things right now. It's very helpful because that's my issue. I think I have an issue of facing the real in such a real way because I'll
Mhm.
try to sugarcoat it or have it sound nice where it doesn't feel as bad. And at the same time, that's not serving me well or my marriage well or really any relationships if I'm not being as honest or being able to take the thought. And I don't have to say it out loud to someone, right? But like, what is it to me? Be
Right.
okay with it being harsh. But I struggle with like, should I even feel that or say that because I want to be the good person or the good husband or the good friend. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and you have to evaluate from that place.
Yeah. So maybe we change the word to candorous rather than harsh, because you can, while it may feel harsh, I think we are just fully communicating, right? And there's a way to
Yeah.
do it in a form that sounds harsh or mean, right? But we're leaning away from mean, more towards candorous and progressive, I want to say, because my history has been not saying all of the things, not all of the things that I desire, and where we might make a little bit of ground, you know, and maybe this sounds selfish, but for the things that I'm desiring, I get a little bit, and I don't want to press too much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I'll deal with that for now. I'll make a little bit more progress later, rather than starting from the basis of here are all the things that will make me feel complete, and let's work on them together, rather than I'm going to try to take what I can when I have the opportunity.
Man, yeah, it's the full truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Candor, that's such a good word to use, and I think that is it because it isn't harsh. It's the full truth. I was listening to something the other day, and they were talking about praying, and they were like, "Well, you don't just tell God what you're sorry for or what you're wrong with. Like, God wants the truth, so He
Mm.
wants the truth of the situation. Like, He wants what you did, how you felt." He wants the good and the bad, not just the please give me this or I'm so sorry I did this. But it's like, no, this felt terrible. But then this was also amazing, right? Like he wants all of it. And we have to
Right.
this is why true prayer is so important, right? Because if we could do
Mm-hmm.
that with God, we can now do that with anyone. So if we,
That is amazing, because a lot of it in prayer with God is you are admitting it to yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get over the hump of being able to say it out loud to yourself, this is where I'm wrong. This is what I need to work on. This is where I want to be. These are the things that I need help with. Yeah, it has to be much easier. And I'm not saying it's easy, but easier to start that conversation with your spouse and have a basis of how to have that conversation and what things need to be said, right? And saying those things to completion, right? Because I think a lot of times we'll be in conversation with our spouse, and what will happen is they might, you might get to a point that is a sticking point for them, and then the conversation gets diverted.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've already set it to completion in your prayer with God, I think, I don't want to call it rehearsed, but I think it allows you the space to basically say, I'm not done yet, because you're not making it up or like
Mm-hmm.
processing it as you're having the conversation.
Yeah. You're not processing it on the fly. You've already expressed it to the one that has the actual biggest factor to change the situation anyway.
Right.
So it's like, and it is, you can be like, actually, that's, and you could be like, that's not what I meant to say or was trying to say, or the direction is not where we need to go. Like, we need to
Mm-hmm.
finish this all the way out. And what's the crazy part is, yes, I'm taking the onus. This is what we need to do. But if your spouse is also doing that, then when you come with a conversation, there's that you both are open to what needs to be said.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. All right. So we've already said that our relationships need to start with this foundation. How do we become better at getting relationships to start there? And if you're already in, years in, how do you go back to a place where this becomes the practice to share everything, be open, and I guess go forward from that point as just an open book about your feelings, desires, and needs, and all the things.
I think the if you're starting, you have to have someone, a couple or someone that knows that that's the baseline to start with. Right? We're kind of stumbling into this as a whole. Like, this would be amazing to start with, but like our life experience. So it's almost like, how do we tell everyone that this is the starting place? Right?
Yeah.
So it's more just sharing. And as we talk to more couples, right? And you know, we talk to couples all the time, right? You're in the grocery store, you're wherever, you're sitting with people. If it once it gets to this conversation, be intentional to bring that up as a way. Like, have you guys ever, written out like what you want in your marriage, like full everything, just so that you know yourself and that you're
Yeah.
not holding your spouse to any expectations that they don't know about. And if you both write a separate list and then bring it to each other, I mean, it's really powerful. Boom, done in there. As far as if you've been married a while, I think I don't know if there's a way to go back, like you said. It's more like let this be our new starting point,
Mm-hmm.
and there may be work involved um, to relieve some hurt and to release uh, some habits that are already there, like some patterns in your marriage that maybe don't align with that.
Yeah.
But if you both can agree that this is the path that you want to get to, and you both agree that there are going to be setbacks to this because you have history of it not being that, that is a way that you can move forward. It's now the new normal, but the new normal also has some history that we have to overturn and we have to rewrite some history.
Yeah.
So um, I think still writing it all out, what you think, what you want, would be great. But then knowing that you're going to have to work to for that to be the normal is what I think that's the way that you can do it. It's
Yeah,
tough.
that's good. I feel like we should put out a quick read book on that, like where how to start from zero and really how to have those conversations and draw out not just the, I'll call them surface level nicety desires that we are all too willing to admit in public, right? But like what's really the nitty gritty of why
Mm-hmm.
you want to be married. And I think, that's really where it comes down to. Why do you want to be
Yeah,
married?
to getting past the obvious or the societal things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to be married because that's what you think you need to get the house, the car. You want to be locked in with someone forever. You want to be able to have sex whenever. You want to put funds together so that you can do more than by yourself. You want someone that can support you, blah, blah, blah. Awesome. But it's so deeper. It's so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
And those ideas aren't the thing that keeps you intimate. And I'm not talking sexual. That's not what keeps you connected. It's the other things that keeps you connected. So you have to figure out what those other things are, what those desires, what those goals, what are those wants. And when you align together and start making those goals, those are the North Star or the true North in your marriage.
It's
Yeah,
just
I think we should.
so difficult to sustain a marriage when you don't know why you're there.
That's everything in life. Marriage is not
For sure.
excluded.
For
You know
sure.
what I mean? So I think we kind of separate marriage out from those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you don't know what you're working toward at your job, how likely are you to stay there?
Yep.
Right? Or if
Yeah.
you don't know what you're doing with a friendship, like you're just going to ghost it. Like there's no point. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going. Right? If any community activity or in a volunteer group or something, like if it seems disheveled and there's no point and there's no purpose, you're not coming back. You're not going to waste your time. So I don't know why we think marriage is any different.
Yeah.
Because just because your body's there doesn't mean all of you is there.
That's what I
So
was
your
gonna say,
body can
man.
be present, but you're scrolling, you're thinking about the next thing you're going to do. That's not your marriage.
Yeah.
And if you're not
Posting
intentionally
lipstick
thinking
within a
about
marriage.
yeah, if you're not intentionally about thinking about your marriage and planning, then it's just life is just going to happen. And next thing you're going to know is like, what is going on? And you've already ghosted your marriage, like you said. It looks different, especially if you have like a kids or an animal. Like, okay, that's your common thing. You don't have to think, okay, who's taking the dog out? When are we going to the dog park? Who's buying the food? Blah, blah. You have communication, but it's not communication.
Yeah.
Or what's the kids' schedule? Where are we going here? What are we doing? Right? That's not really communication. That's not the deep things of life. That's not achieving goals. What do we want to do? What are your fears? What are you scared of? What are you vulnerable? What do you want to achieve? Where am I lacking? How can I grow? You're not having those conversations. And that's
Yeah.
not purposeful marriage.
And that's got to be how so many marriages get to a point of being empty nesters and not knowing each other, right? Like,
Right.
and think about what it is to not know each other, to say those words, right? That again seems like a very surface statement, but there's got to be so much truth to it. Like, I don't even know what you like to do anymore. We haven't spent significant time together doing those things and or having the conversations. What, and then it goes to like, what do you want? What do you like? What are we doing? Hey, like now that we're done raising the kids, and that never really ends, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now that they're no longer in the house, why are you by me? What are you even doing here?
Right. I mean, I get it. Yeah, we used to go to whatever kids' activity and sit together, right? She was in orchestra.
Yeah,
We went to the concert, right? She did artwork. We went to her art gallery, right? He played soccer. We went to his soccer games. We were together because that's what you do as parents. But
right.
now, what do we want to do together?
That's the thing right there. We put being parents over being husband and wife. That's the thing. It's
You're
like
right. You're right.
being husband and wife isn't just secondary, it's almost non-existent because we're parents.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are not the same.
Bella said something yesterday, right? John is about to have a baby, and we're talking to something. We're talking about something. I think she was talking to Taylor, and we're talking about sports teams. And he's like, oh,
Okay.
she's like, who even likes the 49ers? And he's like, well, John likes the 49ers. She's like, he's about to be a dad. That doesn't matter. It was
Oh,
just like, so once you're a dad, nothing, like, it doesn't matter anymore. And
right.
then I can't remember what the rest of the conversation was, but it was just like so appropriate. Like, you feel like once you're a parent, like everything goes out the window. Like, that your
Yeah.
identifier is parent. I'm no longer husband to said wife. I am just parent to said kid.
I'm thinking about what the societal perception is as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about going to the sports activities and things of that nature. How often is it like, where's your husband or where's your wife? It's where's Cheyenne's dad? Where's Cheyenne's mom?
Mm-hmm.
Kids come first, right? Listen, I'm about to come first. We about to come
Yeah.
first out here.
Yeah. I mean, it is a thing. And especially in where we are in society, the time and place, like, that's a big deal. Like, how busy can you be, and how many activities can you put your kid in? And, you don't want them to miss out anything, or you want them to be exposed to anything so they can figure out what they liked, right? When I don't know how we got there or when we got there. It's like, oh, travel. You got to get into travel activities. Oh, you're in cheer. Better get on a travel team. Oh, you're in soccer. Better get on a travel team. Oh, you're in chess. Oh, we have this chess team that travels all over the place. Why? What is the point? It's only like 4% or less than that go on to do those things at a collegiate level. And then it's like 0.2% of those play professionally, whatever it is.
Right.
So, like, why are we doing these sporting things so hard? Why don't we
Yeah.
just, yeah, done. I'm not
I
getting on the
think it
soapbox.
starts from exposure to the things, right? Hey, you should try this. Don't be afraid to try something.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they show significant interest and some talent, we convince ourselves, oh, this can be developed.
Mm-hmm.
But the trick to it is if you're athletic, you're going to be mildly, if not above average at all the things. And I
Mm-hmm.
think even in my life, had I had some focus on maybe just a couple things, right? A couple sports, I would have had a much higher chance of becoming, top echelon. On this side of it, I don't know if that's what I would have wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's easier to say because I don't have it. But
Right.
like, I've also known some folks, and I know the amount of dedication, work, and specificity to all of the aspects of being that successful in a sport.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
that package deal is, right? And I mean, I think for me, relating it to business, I can say that I have similar experience. It's a tough life to have and to also be a family man.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a wild dichotomy, right? Like, it's almost like, how can you be both, right? How can you be at all the events and super involved, but you're literally running a business, like, especially
Mhm.
in this, like, the beginning phase. Like, there's
Yeah,
there's
no,
only so much of a person, and it is a choice. And you can set up, like, right now I have to be in for the next 2 to 3 years for this business, and then I'll be free to be the family man. Or you want me to be a family man, I'm gonna have to work a regular 9 to 5 so that at 5 o'clock I can leave. Right. And I can just go on and be involved. So it's like, we want to do it all, and we're trying to figure out how to do it all. We're holding ourselves that we should be able to do it all, but capacity wise, we only have so much that we can do,
yeah,
without extreme focus. extreme scheduling and extreme understanding from our spouse. So if she's going to understand I'm up at 4 so that I can get my business together, then I have to go to work. And then right at 5, we have this thing for our kids, whatever the activity is. So it's going to be rough for a season. But if we're trying to get to a point where I'm now owning my own business or whatever, and that's running, and now I can be more, that's what it is. So, but just know every minute is accounted for in these days.
Mm,
And we have to be okay with that. But we can't expect to do both and not have a plan on how to do both. And I think
right.
that's where we get stuck, which is where getting back to what are the expectations of this marriage, we may be thinking this is what our wife wants. And our wife was like, actually, I just want you to be here.
Mm,
Like, I don't care about a $400,000 house. We can have a $200,000 house that we can make the mortgage on. It might be a little small, but you're here.
mm,
So all this stress I'm putting on and all this I'm feeling as a failure because we haven't attained this, we never sat down with our separate expectations and said this is what we want, so that we were never even to say, oh, as a unit, we don't have to have what I think we need. She'll be good with this.
yeah. And I think it begs to be said, um, it is hard to excel at something without focus on that thing. So we as men can very much relate to that when it comes to athletics. We can very much relate to that when it comes to work or business. Give the same respect to your marriage.
And maybe I I challenge you to make that your first option, right? So we will put our forces, our resources, our God given talents, and our brain power to all these other things. And then be like, well, I don't know why my marriage is like this. Yeah, you don't know because you haven't thought about it. And I'm speaking to myself,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I can make time for anything. I'm up to do this. I'm figuring out ways to sneak a workout in or to practice my
Yeah.
bass or whatever it is I want to do. The only thing that takes precedence of that is me getting up to read and to pray. Everything else, I need to be like, okay, how am I going to grow in my marriage today? And it can't be just read these books and just read these books. It can't
Yeah.
be just listen to these pods to listen to these pods. You have to apply it. You can't start a business just by reading about how to start a business. You have to choose an area that you want and go after it. So choose an area that you're trying to grow in your marriage and go after it. I'm talking to myself. I'm looking at myself talking to myself right now
But if you
because
were touched
that's
by
where I
those
get
words,
stuck.
but man, so you were talking about, and I know we got to wrap up. We're well over time, but I just want to get this out. You were
There's no
talking
time on
about
this one.
sneaking in some time to work out. I think about often sneaking in some time to get to the range to practice my golf swing. What if? Take it with a grain of salt, but just what if you thought about sneaking in some touches, sneaking in some time for y'all to have time together alone, going out to dinner, maybe a little mini trip without the kids. For all the thought that you do on sneaking in some time for yourself, what if that was shared with sneaking in some time for the both of you?
Man,
Sneaking in some
I just got
flowers,
punched in the gut.
sneaking in a quick lunch date.
Man, it's simple as sneaking in a song and just dancing to
Mm,
it, the two of you.
yeah,
Right? You may
yeah.
have
Does
kids
not
or
have to be
whatever
a
that are
active role.
little, right, that you can't leave alone. Just sneak in, 3 minutes of a song that you like and just
Mm.
be silly, dance around. Right? Yeah. Lunch dates are big. Sneak in a lunch date, like you said, if you can swing it.
All that sneaking we do, why don't you sneak in some marriage?
Right. I can try to fit everything. I can fit this in. I can just get, I could get to the range right after work and then get right home.
I'm gonna permission to hurt you.
Granted, because
Permission
it
to hurt your
usually,
feelings.
because the scab is always better.
Yep. So we're talking about sneaking in time for those things that we want to do. But what is that really? It having a budgeted amount of time and using the extra that we create.
I can't stand you. Why does it apply to everything? Come on. Everything
Yeah.
applies. God is funny. God is funny. Everything is a budget, though. Or everything is a plan. Everything is planned. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So use that allotted time and what you have left, that overage, use it for your marriage.
Both and. I'll say both
Yeah.
and.
Yeah.
But we should certainly start thinking more towards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. That's it. I'm good.
Same.
So, yeah, I don't know. You want to wrap this up and try to
Well,
package it on the front end?
yeah, let's do that. If you, I know this episode was unconventional, but if this touched you in any way, if this challenged you, or you think someone could benefit of this, I would say share this. It's all over the place, but I think it can help people. Share this. We appreciate you. If you have any questions or comments, you think we were off our rockers, if you think we were doing well, just reach out to us on any social media platform searching Marriage is Tougher. Please go to marriagestougher.com, hit the contact form if you want to connect with us, give your feedback. Or if you'd like to be a guest, you can go to the same contact form, give us your name and what you'd like to talk about, and we can figure out how to get you on the show. We do really appreciate you spending your time with us. And until next time, we'll chat later.
Peace.